now going to quickly cover some hyperlocal real estate news. I'll pick out a couple of these, Darren. So let's see here. Oh, Silver Lake. So this is up the street from me. Tokyo Florist Development. Beautiful old house. It was Tokyo Florist Development announced here. So I believe this went for like $3.5 million. But let's see here. Retail project planned. So you've got some renderings here. You can see the old house in the back. I don't know if you can see that very well, Darren.
Sure.
But they're gonna put retail and maybe restaurant up here in the front. And it's, gosh, man, it sounds huge. Santa Monica-based development company has plans to convert and expand upon a single-family residential property in Silver Lake for a new 13,218 square foot office and retail project. That sounds huge, according to plans posted by the city of LA this month. So, I think a lot of people have been waiting to see what's going to happen with that. That's another beautiful rendering of what
we dealt with that years ago, Joe. Was that 3-4 years ago? We had a client potentially interested, and it was in the process of being somebody to prevent it from being developed. Somebody nominated it as a historical location.
So that's a good point. Yeah, so they are going to keep the sign. Obviously, they're going to keep the house in the back, but develop what's up in the front. So construction for the proposed Silver Lake project expected to begin this year and take 16 months. Designs are being led by the project architect Breland Harper. Project would provide 14 automobile parking spaces and spaces for 24 bicycles. Plans also call for various vegetated areas throughout the property, including a garden with winding paths, footbridges, and koi ponds. Wow, where are they going to put all that? Associated pole-mounted commercial sign bearing the Tokyo Florist name would be restored as part of the project. So there's that.
This to me actually brings me joy when I see something like this. It had to be a very thoughtful architect and developer who was willing to wait, I know it's a bad word, but I'm going to say it on our podcast, compromise.
Yeah.
And find a solution to appease the preservationist, to maintain some of those components.
Yeah.
And still develop it, maybe make a little less money than they could have, but still make some money. The project looks beautiful and the renderings, obviously. So we're some of the historical components are being maintained, yet money can also be made and we can have more resources for the community all at the same time.
Yeah.
That to me is a win-win. It's often a very long path to get there, which it seems like it was, but good for them.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, just the way you explained it. Yeah, threading that needle between those different groups is a big feat. So
it's hard. I've seen developers just like they don't think they need to, they don't want to, and then they're just butting heads, man, and nothing gets done. For something like this to happen, it's got to be a very conscious developer, architect, and the preservationist who understands. And this isn't always the case also, that we still need growth. We're going to get bigger, we're going to get denser, but let's do it in a strategic way that truly benefits the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's great to see.
Good. Okay, well, let's move on to another local news story. Let's see. A lot to unpack on this one, but homeless tiny villages, a fire hazard. So I guess there have been a number of fires, and people are starting to question what the safety is of these new tiny home villages. Let's see. The pallet shelter homes are in Los Angeles and elsewhere, but fires in Oakland and Banning have destroyed structures and displaced people. So never a perfect system, but let's see here. City of Los Angeles tentative settlement in a high-profile federal lawsuit over homelessness leaves the door open for a controversial type of shelter that's been raising fire concerns. So,
gosh, man, I mean,
wow, look at that.
It's really sad. Those at risk. Again, I firmly believe this. There are mental issues, there are drug
Yeah.
issues, there's irrational behavior, whether it originated from the homelessness, which it can, or whether
Right.
it led to the homelessness.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
overall, there's additional care, maintenance, and awareness
Yeah.
that has to come along with housing them.
Yeah.
And it's an
Yeah.
additional cost.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised to see
Yeah.
this.
I was going to say, yeah, it's not going to be a perfect system by any means, as you're
Right.
saying, with
I think it has to, right. And you get people who just go to extremes and they're like, oh, that's it. We can't do this at all anymore. The liability's too high. And somebody's going to like file a lawsuit for like $10 million and, us taxpayers will pay it. And that means fewer houses. And so I hope the city is a little proactive and like maybe based on a number of units, they need to have an additional person on site, maybe
Yeah.
some fire sprinklers, as small as they seem. But those type of
Yeah.
things, they end up saying, okay, fine, now it's going to take another 6 months to produce this group of homes, or it's going to cost an additional $5 million. And gosh, man,
Yeah.
yes, some additional actions, but it's a volatile environment. They just have to treat it like one.
Yeah.
If you have a bunch of homeless people
Yeah.
living in tiny homes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other concern here is this permanent housing or is this transitional temporary housing? That's the
Gosh,
other concern. But
man.
hey, it's a start, right? It's a start.
How do you, it's like what I said earlier,
Mhm.
this whole direction of socialism, man. At
Yeah,
at what point is it, at what point is the crutch removed?
yeah,
You know, at
yeah,
what point? There is no point that's acceptable that
right.
I've seen or heard.
Yeah,
It's that once you're given the crutch, it's your crutch to keep
yeah,
forever.
yeah, yeah,
You've got to want to let the crutch go. You've got to find ways, and it's going to be at different paces for different people, but absolutely the case. This will now become not only the cost of building it, but the cost of maintaining it long term if people aren't moving on. And if people are moving on, that means it's not available for new people who are in need of it.
right,
The same
right,
issue I have with rent control. I
right,
want to help those that need help, but if people that don't need the help are utilizing rent control, then you're preventing others that need it from utilizing the benefit of it.
right. So just to give credit where credit's due, so the previous two stories was from whatnowlosangeles.com for the Tokyo Florist development story, and then Los Angeles Magazine for the Tiny Villages fire hazard story. Coming up, and our final one for hyper local news is from the eastsiderla.com. Jesus Sanchez and his crew out there do some very, very needed work. Good stuff here from Northeast Los Angeles. And so this comes from the eastsiderla.com. And it talks about the crown jewel of LA River parks could cost more than $1 billion. So I know this has been a long story in the making, but I guess it's getting a little bit more detailed. It says here the cost to turn 42 acres of contaminated railroad property on the border of Cypress Park and Glassell Park into a crown jewel of riverfront revitalization could top $1 billion. That's according to an updated study by the Bureau of Engineering that will be reviewed today by a city council committee. The city paid nearly $60 million in 2017 to buy a chunk of Taylor Yard, a dormant railroad property along the LA River, to create a riverside park. That parcel, known as G2, sits to the west of Rio de Los Angeles State Park and downriver from the state-owned Bowtie parcel. The former railroad properties are now part of the 100-acre partnership, which aims to create a giant recreation area by the river. So, wow. A lot of money happening here. The cost of the still unbuilt park has ballooned over the years. In 2016, it was $252 million. In 2019, it was $798.2 million. Today, it's $1.06 billion, which includes amounts to cover price increases and unforeseen expenses. So, wow. Well, it will get done at some point, but yeah, costs have gone
Well,
up.
I have a suggestion, and this is a roll of the dice, but I would say that it's worth rolling the dice here. construction is insane right now. The cost of construction is
Wait,
ballooning.
right? Yeah.
And it's just in high demand, and the cost of labor is ballooning, both materials and labor and availability. So look, contractors are just increasing their bids every day.
Yeah.
And they're getting it because people just want things done.
Yeah.
Wait, my suggestion on a project of this scope, wait
Yeah.
until that industry slows down and you'll get
Yeah.
some more competitive bids.
Yep. Yep. So it continues here. 3 parcels together in an ambitious and costly plan. The preferred concept includes creating an island in the LA River. Wow. Constructing a pedestrian and bike bridge to Elysian Valley, a museum and cultural center, wetlands and gardens, trails and paths, viewpoints and other amenities. The concept will be costly. Just cleaning and removing contaminated soil will cost about $231 million under the latest estimates. LAPD power lines and towers will be moved away from the riverbank and an irrigation system built. It all adds up. And then once it's built, there will be an estimated operating cost of at least $6 million a year. So potential funding sources include county, state, federal, bond programs, federal grants, foundations, and private sources. Report recommends that the city council approve the project. But as you said, they should slow down and wait.
Well, they can, yeah, right. If they're approving an existing bid, part of the reason that bid's gone up is inflation. My suggestion would not have been to wait years ago.
Yeah.
And they would have been better off not waiting years ago.
Mhm.
So, what can I say? This is a real estate podcast. Buy real estate in that proximity. Eventually, this will get built. That one,
Yeah.
if they accept a $1 billion budget, I'm sure it'll end up costing 1.3 or 1.4 billion, because that's the way the city functions. But the real estate around it will go up in price. I can assure you of that.
Yep. Yep. Wow. Okay. So that's just a quick glimpse of what's going on in the area.